Look up at a window in an old cathedral and look closely. The glass is often a little thicker at the bottom than at the top, and for a long time, people had a spooky explanation for it. The glass, they said, is secretly a liquid. Slowly, over hundreds of years, it has been oozing downward. Give the window a face, because it has been accused of a crime it did not commit. And honestly, the story sounds convincing. Glass is made from a melt. It is poured while it glows like caviar honey, and it never forms neat crystals the way ice or salt do. So why not believe that it just kept flowing a tiny bit every year for 700 or 800 years until the bottom went fat and the top went thin? For a long time, this was taught as simple fact. Poor window. The evidence looked bad. But there is a problem. A big one. If glass really flows, then the oldest glass should save the most. So look at Roman glass or Egyptian glass, thousands of years older than any cathedral. Yachts, bannels, tiny beads. Not one of them shows the melted slump the story predicts. The oldest glass on Earth is still holding its shape, so the story cannot be true. So why is the bottom thicker? Because of how the glass was made. Back then, a glassmaker would spin a blob of molten glass into a flat, whirling disc, thick near the middle and thin at the rim, cut that disc into panes, and no two came out the same. Every sheet was a little uneven, and when the workers set them into the window, they usually put the heavy edge at the bottom because it sits more steadily that way. That is your sec. It was built in on day one, and here is the giveaway. Plenty of old panes are actually thicker at the top or off to one side. Gravity cannot explain that. A lopsided morning at the glassworks can. Here is why the myth refuses to die. Glass really is strange. It is not a normal solid. Its atoms are frozen in a jumble with none of the tidy, repeating pattern you find in a crystal. Scientists call it an amorphous solid, a liquid's messy arrangement locked in place. So asking whether glass is a liquid is actually a fair question, not a silly one. But frozen is frozen. At room temperature, it simply does not move. Alright, but could it flow eventually? Someone actually did the math. To make a medieval pane visibly droop at room temperature would take almost unimaginably long. Not centuries, not even millions of years. Longer than the entire universe has existed, and then some. No cathedral has stood for even the tiniest sliver of that. The window has not budged since the day it was hung. So here is the verdict. The window is innocent. It never dripped, never oozed, never flowed. It was just made by hand, a little lopsided and on heavy side down centuries ago, and it has stayed exactly that way ever since. So the next time someone tells you that old glass is slowly melting, you can smile. It is not a puddle in progress. It is a solid, doing what solids do, standing still.